On the outskirts of Sydney, about 50 kilometres northwest of the city, a new housing estate is taking shape. Over the next 10 years, thousands of homes will be built here in the Box Hill area.
I would say probably about 10,000 homes. We're looking at 25,000 people in the precinct. On this particular property, we're looking at 2,300 lots.
This site alone, called the Hills of Carmel, is worth an estimated $1.3 billion.
And what would be the average price for a house and land package around here, roughly speaking?
Roughly speaking, just short of $1 million. That's a guess, but I'd say it'd be about right.
Despite huge price rises for homes in Sydney over the past decade, developers here say that demand for new houses is still strong.
And how many lots have been sold so far?
At the moment, I just want to work that out, close to 400.
About 400.
Yeah.
And as soon as they're approved, how long does it take to sell them?
To sell them?
Yeah.
5 minutes to sell them.
I reckon this is the single-story house, but if we build a double-story, we'll have a better view at the front and have a balcony at the front towards the landscape.
PARM SINGH and his wife LOVELEEN have bought one of the first lots here. They want to start a family in a new home, away from areas associated with crime.
Where we live, we had a break-in, and like they took all the stuff from our home, and so we had a very bad experience. We couldn't sleep for nights.
Everyone's gonna build a new house here around here, and obviously, like I'm hoping getting good neighbors and good society around the area.
At the Hills of Carmel site, about 1/3 of buyers are investors, banking on the new homes going up in price. At Penrith, about half an hour's drive away, real estate agents have never seen so many investors buying this far from the city centre.
From 2014 through to 2016, it was very big, very strong. We would have sold 70% or so of everything we sold to investors, mostly from in the city.
Property agent Greg Taylor says those who couldn't afford investment properties closer to the city have been snapping up homes and apartments on the fringe of Sydney.
We've had a lot of Chinese, a lot of Indian investors, a lot of mum and dad investors, first-time investors.
The investment frenzy has been cooled by the recent crackdown on interest-only loans by the financial regulator. But the surge in investors between 2014 and 16 has pushed house prices in Western Sydney to record highs, and some analysts are warning of a repeat of 2003, when Sydney property prices dropped and the western suburbs were hit hard.
So the first market really to subside in Sydney's boom was the outer suburbs, particularly Western Sydney. In those markets, people are often more reliant on single salary earners. They may feel the impact of higher interest rates more keenly than in some of the inner suburbs. What seemed to be an undersupply of housing quickly evaporated, and we saw vacancy rates rising out west to above 5%. So we may see something similar this time around, with the boom coming to an end in the fringe suburbs first.
View from here is going to be really good.
But PARM and LOVELEEN believe the value of their $1 million new home can only go one way.
By my experience, like, it hasn't happened since I'm here from 10 years, and it hasn't happened at all. Sydney just keep growing up.
It's always gone up.
It's always gone up. It never seems like going down. Sydney always growing. And
it's never going to come down anyways.
Never going to come down.
Pete WARGENT is not convinced.
You generally find that through the cycle there is less demand for property further away from the city. Sydney is struggling with traffic congestion, makes it very difficult to commute to places of work. And there's also less scarcity in property that's on the city fringe. There's more land available, generic or homogenous housing. So you generally find that on the city fringe, valuations don't always stack up, and households can be more susceptible to rises in interest rates.
Other property analysts are more optimistic about the Sydney property market and don't foresee any hard landing for houses on the edge of the city.
I think it's fair to say the risk profile in the Sydney housing market has become more pronounced than what it was, say, 6 months ago or even 12 months ago. So we should expect there is going to be some level of downturn in the Sydney market, but I'd be quite surprised if it was more than, say, 10%, for example, and I think it will be quite a controlled slowdown, considering mortgage rates are likely to remain relatively low.
But there are signs that Sydney's housing market is starting to slide. An increasing number of analysts are pointing towards apartment oversupply hotspots, and even these dazzling glass and steel towers 20 kilometres from the city centre at Wentworth Point could become a wobbly investment.
I think statistically the markets where construction has really taken off, LGAs like Parramatta, Blacktown, Wentworth Point, areas like that, there's a lot of supply coming online.
PARM and LOVELEEN are not concerned about the naysayers and have bought a second block of land at Box Hill as an investment property.
Yeah, I'm hoping once we build this one up, and then we'll look forward, because the settlement for the next one is the next year, and by the time we have more ideas what we're going to do around this area, and if we might going to build and rent it out.
Nothing will dampen their enthusiasm for Sydney property.
It's going to be a nice park for the kids and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can walk in the morning as well.